Hey guys, it's Ambitious Jemz again, and I have a new video for you guys. This time it's about Mercury retrograde. By the time I post this, Mercury won't be in retrograde anymore, but I'm filming this right now and it is Mercury retrograde. And the reason why I decided to film it right now is because I just did my Sagittarius video and it was full of frustrations and delays, and that's exactly what Mercury retrograde is about. Whatever is going on in the sky with those planets affects us in Earth. It affects our everyday life and how we communicate. So since Mercury rules certain areas in our life, that's what is affected. So for example, transportation, traveling, important documents, contracts, your car, in terms of communication, speaking and understanding and thinking and writing, like things like that is just all affected. It's not saying that like the most terrible things is gonna happen, but things that don't usually happen is going to happen, and it's just gonna cause frustration. So what is Mercury retrograde, you ask? What's happening in the sky with Mercury retrograde is simply that Mercury is appearing to go backward. No planet ever goes backwards. The thing is, because Mercury is so close to the sun, it actually has a shorter orbit than the Earth. So sometimes it's gonna be passing the Earth, it goes around faster. A good example of what I've heard before that makes me really understand is, for example, if there's two trains, you're in one train and a train is going fast beside you, it kind of like shakes up the train that you're in, right? That's basically what Mercury retrograde is about. It kind of just shakes up the Earth a little bit. Mercury goes retrograde about 3 to 4 times in a year. For that whole year, it's always retrograde in a certain element. For example, this year, 2016, Mercury is always going to be going retrograde in Earth signs. Last year, it was air signs. Now, when Mercury is in retrograde, it's normally in retrograde for about 3 weeks. About a week and a half or 2 weeks before retrograde actually starts, it's in its shadow phase, and then after that, about a week or two again, it's in another shadow phase. So basically what it looks like is Mercury is going regular, straight, and then when it's going retrograde, it appears to go back, and then it's going back straight again. So those times when it's going straight, those 2 times it's going straight, that's shadow period until it gets to where it was supposed to be. It's kind of confusing at first, but basically Mercury retrograde is when Mercury is appearing to go backwards, and it just shakes up Earth a little bit for 3 weeks. There's going to be a lot of transportation issues going on. So you may notice that you're not normally late for work, and then you're late for work because the train is having some delay or your car breaks down. Like for example, last year when Mercury was retrograde in Aquarius, my car actually broke down. I had to get a new transmission. It's said to not actually fix your car during a Mercury retrograde because certain things are not normally seen, and then when Mercury goes direct again, then the issue comes about, because that's what happened. Then next thing you know, I got my car back, and then I see that there's another issue with the transmission. They had to take that transmission out and fix it because obviously he didn't see something. There was just all this big old thing, and I'm not saying Mercury retrograde is to blame, but Mercury retrograde, I don't know. It's a coincidence. Also, coincidences are very high in Mercury retrograde times. You could be thinking about someone that you haven't seen for years, and then next thing you know, that person comes in and checks up on you out of the random blue. That's another thing about Mercury retrograde. Like old friends pop up, or like past lovers pop up. Maybe you want to see how you're doing, or maybe you want to rekindle things and things like that. Yeah, also with the whole transportation thing, your flights may be canceled or your flight may be delayed. It's not a good time to make important decisions. So if you're like applying for a loan, or if you have to sign a contract, or if there's an important decision to make, you should hold off until Mercury goes direct, because you may be missing things. Often in Mercury retrograde, when you're like reading something, you're like maybe missing something in the fine print, and then you're gonna realize later like, oh shucks. Or even I noticed when you're communicating with people, you might say things that you shouldn't have said, or you're not really taking in what the person's saying to you. There's always miscommunication. Like somebody may be saying something to you and you're interpreting it a different way. Also with writing emails, for example, with Mercury retrograde, you write an email and then you have to read it over like 10 times, because every time you read it over those 10 times, you notice a different mistake that wasn't there. Like, it's just so crazy to me, because if you actually know when it's Mercury retrograde and just live your regular life and notice in those 3 weeks, there's actually a difference. Do you know how many people is having car trouble on my Snapchat right now, and I'm just thinking like Mercury retrograde, but people don't even hear me. They're thinking like, what is this crazy astrology girl thinking talking about right now? Also, with Mercury retrograde, I noticed that there's a lot of like technological issues in terms of like computers, printers. This is when, for example, I'm making a YouTube video and I have to upload everything on my computer, and that's when my computer wants to break down, or that's when my computer doesn't it's just having some type of glitches and stuff like that it doesn't normally have. On a regular day, I could just upload and do whatever I want to do. Things to do with communicating and things to do with technology is just not the time for that. Also, I find Mercury retrograde is not a good time to buy new things, because often when you buy something in Mercury retrograde, you realize later that you could have bought that same thing at a cheaper price, or like bought it somewhere and got something better. It's just not a good time for making like impulsive decisions at all. You should definitely wait it out when Mercury is in retrograde, because you will find that your mind is way more clear. So you're hearing all these bad things, you're hearing all these frustrations, but what Mercury retrograde is actually good for is a time to R-E dash. And with that being said, I mean reevaluate, reorganize, rethink, things of that nature. You want to take this time to reflect. You want to plan out extra time to get to whatever your destination is. If you have car trouble, try to wait until Mercury is direct. Sorry guys, my camera was full. Now I'm on my laptop. Things that don't usually happen. Just wait out whatever you can wait out. Any like important surgeries or like any big things that you're gonna have to pay a lot of money for, like the mechanic, like I said, because remember, these people are human beings. Doctors, anybody is capable of making mistakes. That influence is very high in Mercury retrograde. Don't start anything new during these times. I mean, if you already have a project, you can continue to work on your project. Be a little bit more patient at this time. I think understanding what's going on in the universe will help you act accordingly, so you can plan ahead. So that's it. That's my video. Please like and subscribe, and please share this video.